He's a magic man. Look at him, Daddy-O. There he is.
Wow. Sliding into home is a brown-eyed, handsome man. Look at that.
Wow. Oh, yeah. Wow.
All right. Woo.
Let's do it. Boy, it is the Muppet Show like you can't believe behind the scenes here, but F it, we'll do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Wow, dude.
We're not taking vacations. We're not sitting on the sidelines. There's no baseball. We're still working. We're still grinding. We're not flying around the country doing other things. We are here for beer and baseball, and we are coming at you live again because you know what? We tried to go recording. We tried to do it. We tried to make it easier on ourselves. It only made it harder. But we welcomed it. We took it on. We didn't care. We're not going to lay on our back and take the 3 count. Not a chance. Not a chance. We're coming back at you live. That's right. Look at Kevin. He's all disheveled.
No, I'm not going to lay on my back and let another man.
I was hoping you would take it there. I would hope you would.
I kind of blew that line, but you knew where I was going.
Boy, we are shot out of the cannon tonight.
Oh man, ready?
Oh yes, coming in. Woo.
Dude. Michael Mondragon is acting like Kevin Lyon coming in hot tonight. Woo.
Dude, we're alpha grind set bros now. Like that speech was just like, all right, dude, who needs sleep?
I don't. Sleep is for losers.
Well, we are super enthusiastic. If you are watching us wherever you are, if you're watching us live, if you're watching us recorded, please give us a like and a follow. Hey, how about I go from the top and do the rigmarole, right?
We're live, pal.
We are live. Welcome to the weekly Baseball Brew Crew Podcast, keeping baseball history alive, one craft beer at a time. Wherever you are watching us or listening to us, give us a like and a follow. If you love beer with your baseball, please tell a friend. Here is the lineup card for today. Let's do it. Our VP of Content Development at the Baseball Brew Crew, Angelo Trinidad, is on holiday assignment. But next, he's the field correspondent and senior research analyst at the Baseball Brew Crew. It is Kevin Lyon.
Made it. The Magic Man is back. I'm back to stressing every day about getting here at 6:30. Made it just in the nick of time. And we're live, and I'm hot and ready to go. I'm not quite as hot as Michael Mondragon up there. I'm definitely excited.
Dude.
We're ready, Jack.
You are the magic man.
Aha. I'm gonna pull a rabbit out of my hat. Let me see. Oh no. Just don't look under my hat, please.
Is there a cabbage leaf?
Yeah. It might be a Cabbage Patch Kid. I don't know at this point.
Well, hitting third is the Goodwill Ambassador and the Sultan of Swig at the Baseball Brew Crew. It is Cowboy Jack Durango.
Whoa. We are drunk. No one can cut us off. Searching the fridge for radiant haze. Talking Lynn Kinnicky. Love is a baseball field. Woo! Happy Valentine's Day, Kevin, Michael, Mrs. Cowboy Jack Durango, and the rest of the Bruniverse. Welcome to the greatest show on earth, starring yours truly, the Sultan of Swig, Jackie Ballgame, Charlie Guzzle, the Hop King. Kevin, not only am I number one in fantasy baseball, but I'm number one in your heart. Cowboy Jack Durango!
Let him hear it. Yes.
Wow.
Love is a baseball field. I'm glad you went with that. You know, I gave that idea to you about 2 hours before showtime.
That was a tough one, dude. That was a tough one to pull together, but we did it. Poor decisions. How you doing?
I like it. I like it a lot. Yes. Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. Michael Mondragon here, your humble host for the festivities. And we have a big show for you tonight. So, hey, why don't we just get into it? As tradition on the show, we always bring a new and unique craft beer to review and enjoy. So what are you drinking out there tonight? I'm going to start with Kevin, actually.
I know. I'm like, well, I'm first. Oh, sir.
Scratch that. Rewind. I said Kevin, but I actually mean Cowboy Jack.
Hey.
Well, gents, since being introduced to the wonderful world of craft beer, I have learned some just really cool breweries, and I've got to drink some really, really great beers. And I found another great one. So in my efforts to spotlight local Arizona breweries, I stumbled across this brewery, which is called Roses by the Stairs. And I've been nothing but impressed, guys. You're going to love this one when you're out here, Kevin. They spent 2 years through the COVID lockdowns remotely growing and refining their vision of a brewery that not only serves delicious craft beer, but contributes to the community in a real way by highlighting local artists, reinvesting in small local businesses, and supporting local organizations and causes. After 2 years, they finally opened the doors in 2020, and they've been going strong since. They purchase seasonal fruits, grains, malts only from sustainable local farms that demonstrate that they give back to the community. And they've also become a member of a group called 1% for the Planet. That's where a business will donate 1% of their total revenue, whether they're profitable or not. They pledge to donate 1% of their total revenue. Got some thunder in the background, boys.
Yeah.
So, yeah, whether they make money or not. So these are corporations that are actually putting their money where their mouth is, and Roses by the Stairs gets it done. I would love to recommend that you go in there and try their Isolation Hazy IPA, because I likes to keep it hazy, boys. It has a 6.4% ABV and a 25 IBU, and this is the first beer in their series of single hop IPAs. In this series, Roses by the Stairs will only use one type of hop throughout the entire brewing process to really highlight the aroma and the flavors of that variety of hops. So they're not confused. They're not mixing hops. They're just diving into that one flavor. The first hop that they're using is called Luminasa, which is a new hop on the market from a company called Indie Hops. So keep an eye out for Luminasa hops. That you're going to catch all the feels, as the kids say, because you're going to catch these notes of mango, freshly zested citrus, and guava juice. On a hot Arizona day, the Isolation IPA is everything. So if you're like us here at the Baseball Brew Crew and you enjoy a little bit of baseball with your craft beer, Roses by the Stairs Tap Room is located a scant 9-minute drive away from Chase Field. So if you were lucky enough to be here in the Phoenix area for the upcoming Baseball World Classic, mosey on over to Roses by the Stairs, have them pour you a tall, cold Isolation Hazy IPA or 3, and let them know that the Valley of the Sun's favorite son, Cowboy Jack Durango, sent you.
Nice. You're picking all these great breweries. Like, I've never heard of this one either. And the fact that they started during the pandemic is even more like outstanding. That's
and so I felt that kinship because that's how this podcast started, was out. This vision, and refined it. And dude, just what they're doing to help the environment, the 1% for the planet, like that money goes back into like slowing global warming and helping with natural disasters, like protecting the planet, like saving the planet. So God bless them, dude. They do yoga classes on Sunday morning. They do food trucks almost every night, live music 3 nights a week, stand-up comedy on Thursdays. They do board game nights. I can't wait to share this experience with you guys.
Nice.
And hey, an extra bonus I saw when I was looking at their social media, for anybody who lives in Arizona, I believe it's starting tomorrow, is Arizona like Beer Week. So there's something to keep an eye out for. Yeah, I just saw that Roses by the Stairs supposed to be mentioned that, and every day they're gonna have a different beer coming out. Like, all right.
Oh, that's killer.
Check that out. Like I said, I believe it starts tomorrow when I hashtagged the research,
So we're actually saving baseball history one craft beer at a time. They're saving the planet one craft beer at a time.
Yes.
Very cool.
Yeah, so go spend money in there, man. Every 1% of every dollar that enters that business is going to help the environment. So support them. Get out there.
That is awesome. Great one there. I can't wait to get out there when I'm out there in March. So yeah, definitely looking forward to that one. Now, Kevin, I will give you the floor.
All right, give me the Give me the floor. You're going to give me the boot? What are you doing here?
Yes, every week is beer week.
Yes.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah. For here, it is for sure. Like when I was looking it up in Arizona, when I was looking at their thing, they have a beer coming out tomorrow on Thursday. They're brand new beers made with Goldwater Brewing, who I think you've talked about before, right, Jack?
Yeah, very solid.
Right on. So speaking of solid, this is something I normally would be drinking, but you know what? It's a brisk 55 degrees out here in California, right where I live in Anaheim. It's winter here, so I have a winter ale by Green Cheek Brewery. It's called Pumpkin Spice, rhymes with nice. Winter ale with super yummy spices. So let me review what they say here. We hear that winter ales are making a big comeback this winter season. Yep, we're not lying. Was it GQ or Forbes talking about it? Not sure who exactly, but either way, they definitely said the best way to spread holiday cheer is drinking super yummy spices in your holiday beer. And yes, this is that. Couldn't believe how poignant that was, how succinct, how rhymey. Did you write this, Cowboy Jack?
I might have, dude. Like we mentioned earlier, I love to keep it hazy. So
that's right.
I don't remember a lot.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll see about that, Jack. That's why you have a script. And here we are releasing one today. Boy, I'm not used to reading these rhymes. I'm better at just talking than drinking. Right? Sure. I'm sober. That's why I can't do anything apparently yet. Ours hits with all the right amounts of cinnamon, clove, nutmeg, allspice, and ginger, and pairs perfectly with all the caramel and Terminato-like flavors from the base beer's maltiness. This is really good stuff here, and I was like, all right. And I'm not really, it's very pumpkiny, but I can smell the cinnamon and the clove and the nutmeg. I'm like, oh, it's going to warm me up on this frigid evening here in Anaheim, California. And it's just I'll tell you what is in my wheelhouse though about this. It is an 8%er. So there we go. I'm going to be happy with that. Jack's like, good.
Breakfast beer, dude. Breakfast.
Exactly. And I love the artwork too. You got the a little wintry theme. I don't know if you want to slow me to show you the can off. It's some cool little fun artwork. And this is I hate to say the word mascot. Shh, don't hear me when I say that, Cowboy Jack. But this is because there's no one in a costume, but this is the character that's on almost all their cans.
Right.
Green Cheek, drink while smiling is their slogan. They've been around for, I want to say, 6 years or so ago. They're based in Orange County. They actually have 3 locations in the Orange County area now. They've really grown over the whole time they've been around. They make really, really good stuff. They're in Orange, California, Costa Mesa, and Sunset Beach, California, not Sunset Beach, Hawaii, Cowboy Jack, home of Don Morocco, the magnificent one. We're talking about Sunset Beach, California, which is part of the Huntington Beach area. But you can't go wrong if you go over there, try a beer, and, you can't go wrong with them.
Yeah, Green Cheek made my top 3 beers last year, and I believe so. I'm thinking back. Did I not have?
You know what? Regardless, every time we've gone there, we got to go there a few times the last few months, and it was good times all around.
Yeah, I mean they're outstanding, and again, a brewery that we actually knew in kind of its infancy. To here, it's been around for 6 years. Is kind of surprising to me. But I actually had this one last, I want to say October. Because for the Carver show, I actually had a.
Okay, wow! It's been out for that long because it's a winter ale, so I figured it would have come out around the holiday season. But I'm like, I better drink this soon because I can't drink this in the spring. Then again, there's no winter in California.
That's true.
At least I live. There can be if you're in the mountain areas.
It might have been November, December as well. Right. It could have been that area. But it's always good. And definitely not it's something I would straight go to. But it's always a nice variety whenever we do these, or the porters or those type of things. I
have been told always IPAs. I'm like, no, I'll mix stuff sometimes,
Yeah. So definitely a good one here. I was glad to see that you got this one. Mine tonight is actually one I'm really growing, a brewery that I'm growing very fond of. This is the Philadelphia Experiment Hazy IPA by Henhouse Brewing. It's 6% ABV, no IBU. It's described, the Philadelphia Experiment is named for an audacious attempt at warping space-time in the 40s. The flavor ride your tongue is about to take will be no less aspirational. We started with California-grown barley from Admiral Maltings, then brought Simcoe hops from the north, Southwest United States and Vic Secret hops from Southeast Australia, localizing them into one wonderful, juicy, orange-delicious moment on your tongue. So there's that one. It's nice and orange juicy.
I love the name, man.
Yes. Yeah, and so I believe that I didn't write it down. Hen House is actually a NorCal brewery. So I should have done my research on where it's exactly at. I thought I had it on my list here, but I actually had one. If you remember last year, it was the Grain Bravey. It might have even been like in January. And it was excellent. And every one I've had has been great. And I looked it up. I did the research. They actually have a baseball beer called Bleacher Bound. Nice. We're celebrating the Sonoma Stompers baseball team and Hen House's arrival in their beer garden at Arnold Field.
Man,
Bleacher Bound. Yes, exactly. So the Sonoma Stompers are a collegiate summer baseball team based in Sonoma, California. So obviously the brewery is near there. So
so they have 2 tasting rooms. They have one in Santa Rosa and one in Petaluma.
That's right. Okay. And it says Bleacher Bound Double IPA has a bullpen of hops, slinging flavorful fastballs and citrusy sliders to keep your tongue swinging. Just when you thought that your tongue's mastered Mosaic's earthy, fruity moves, Eldorado's stone fruit character comes zooming in. So we definitely might have to make a road trip to here. I mean, this is a really great one out of NorCal. And I want to, like I said before on other shows, I've been kind of remiss on getting Northern California beers, only because they're not so readily available down here. There's obviously a lot more SoCal beers and Orange County beers and San Diego beers here. So to find one from NorCal is kind of rare for me, but I guess I have to hunt around a little bit more. So some good stuff. If you see this one, definitely. This one's probably only available in Sonoma, but
maybe during baseball season. Who knows? It's always baseball season for us, though.
That's true. Hen House Brewing. Definitely check them out. All right, so let's do it. This is this day in baseball history for Valentine's Day, February 14th. Let's do it. February 14th, 1887, for a record price of $10,000, the Cubs, then known as the White Stockings, sell current National League batting champ and future Hall of Famer Mike King Kelly to the Bean Eaters. That's the Boston Bean Eaters to you, Jack.
Got it.
Popular box office draw who will earn his nickname King while playing in Boston will continue to be productive, hitting .311 for 3 years during his first tenure with the team. So King Kelly played on 8 pennant winners, that is, over the course of his big league career, hitting better than 308 times. So he's nicknamed the King. Okay, so I did the research because this is a Valentine's Day show. And a fun fact is King Henry VIII declared Valentine's Day an official holiday in 1537. This hopeless romantic died in 1547 and is best known for his 6 marriages. Cowboy Jack, can you relate?
Easy, baby.
I thought you asked me. I'm like, well, he knows that's my life right there.
Yikes, dude. Okay. All right, we're bobbing and weaving tonight. I got you.
I'm obviously that youngster, the youngster in that photo.
Yes,
when I was young. Once.
Yes, I apologize for that, Jack. No, I'm super.
You're not apologizing.
No, don't you dare! Don't you dare!
No, that's actually, I mean, he was actually, he's nothing like this. The King Henry VIII is nothing like our lovable Cowboy Jack Durango. And actually, as I look this up, I only saw this in one place, that he had declared Valentine's Day an official holiday in 1537. Ooh. I can't find it anywhere but this one place. So I might be running on some false information here.
Hey, I thought Hallmark invented it. Come on, guys, right?
That's what I'm thinking.
You know what that sounds like, Jack? This sounds like some hazy history here.
It does.
It does.
It does. Pull out your diary, dude.
Yeah, I know. I really, really should.
February 14th, 1934, Sam Rice, who spent the first 19 seasons with the Senators, ends his career playing 1 year with the Indians. The 44-year-old future Hall of Famer collected 2,987 hits during his 2 decades in the majors. So the Valentine's Day take on this, 13 hits away from 3,000. That's a heartbreaker.
Ugh. Well, come on. Back then,
Nothing.
No. Jack?
Yes, sir.
I was waiting. Let's see if he was paying attention. We know that Jack is the heartbreaker here, you know?
Yes.
Oh, no, dude.
The Heartbreak Kid. The Heartbreak Kid. The original Heartbreak Kid.
Not this cowboy, dude. Not this cowboy. I'm an old married man, dude. What can I say?
Wow.
No, it's blast, dude. It's blast.
All right. February 14th, 1976. After finishing 40 and a half games behind the Reds and second to last in the National League West in 1975, the Braves needed to do something to show their fans they still cared. So with the season fast approaching, the Braves did the only reasonable thing possible. They mailed their fans a Valentine's Day card. And here is what it said.
Oh my goodness.
Pete Rose is a Red. Joe Morgan's 1-2. They finished in first like we wanted to. But last year's behind us. We're happy to say, now we're tied for first. Happy Valentine's Day.
Love this, dude. That's so great. Way to pay homage to the man, dude. I love it.
Hey,
well done, dude.
Cowboy Jack, why don't you take a guess who won the World Series in 1976?
1976?
Yes, because that's what we're talking about. This is previewing the 76 season. Why don't you take a wild guess who wins the World Series that year?
I'd have to say Cincinnati.
Great job.
You did it.
You got it.
I was going to give you there you go.
I've never heard that before.
The first for everything, Jack.
Yeah, I like that one a lot. That and
I want to see if the Braves actually finished any better in 76.
I'm fascinated to know. Let's see, 76. They were actually
in the NL West, right? They were in last place again.
The funny.
They were in last again.
It's because they're on the East Coast and they're in the West.
Yeah, I know. And Cincinnati is such a West Coast team too.
That's true. That's true.
And it's so weird, Atlanta, because you would think Atlanta's further east than Chicago and St. Louis. Oh, baseball.
Yeah.
Corrupt organization, man.
That's right. That's right.
February 14th, 1986, the Mets signed Doc Gooden to a 1-year, $1.32 million contract, making the 21-year-old the youngest millionaire in Major League history. The National League's reigning Cy Young Award winner, who struck out 268 batters and posted a league-leading 1.53 ERA en route to compiling a 24-4 record last season, avoids going to arbitration after agreeing to his new deal. So that's awesome, right? So the first, 21-year-old millionaire.
Wow, dude!
Pretty awesome.
Look at that stance. Look at that form. Look at dude.
But again,
love it.
1 year.
1 year.
1 year. Like, nowadays, they're pinning these guys down for as long as they can. That's an interesting move by Dwight's agent.
Yes. What's the conversion, Jack, to 1.32 in today's money?
1.32 in today's money. Give me 3 seconds. Give me some countdown music.
3.
Oh, no. There we go.
Oh, countdown music. I'm sorry. Are we live, Michael?
We are. It's all good.
Okay.
All good.
I'm just kidding.
I'm going as fast as I can, dude.
That's all right. It's all good.
I'm fascinated to know.
Oh, this is tricky to navigate.
I did not give you enough prep time. I apologize for that.
It's fine. No, it's 6 zeros, dude. 354,854,927.01.
That can't be right. Okay, sure. Did you punch in 111 million?
Yeah, that's 130 million.
Yeah. So like 3 million. So approximately a little over 3 million.
My gosh, no.
When he said 6 zeros, I'm like, that sounds like a lot more than what he's entering here.
It's hard to do it on the phone, man.
That's right.
There we go. All right. $3,548,000. 549. Jeez Louise, dude. Easy for me to say, boys. 3,548,549.27.
Right.
Yikes,
wow.
That was like pulling teeth, guys.
Oh, Jack is blown up now. I hope you're gonna make it through hazy.
Yikers, dude.
Thanks.
Well, sit back and enjoy this one because I looked up another Met that was actually a little bit before Doc Gooden's time. Didn't make quite the money. But because it's Valentine's Day, this is Ellis Valentine.
Yeah.
He's here with the Montreal Expos. He was there from 75 to 81. He played with the Mets from 81 to 82. He was with the California Angels in 1983, finished his career in 1985 with the Texas Rangers. And a fun fact is he won his only Gold Glove in 1978. And as we all know, no glove, no love.
Oh.
Wow, dude. Tonight's a heck of a night, bro.
Tonight's oh, man.
It's like trains are derailing and all this weird chemical is in the air, man.
Oh no. And here I was thinking you were going to talk about another Met Valentine. I was like waiting for that.
Yes. Well, we mentioned earlier Bobby Valentine.
Yes.
But
I give some love to Ellis. I would for sure would have saw him in '83 at the Angels.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
I think he was like
So
a back.
cool.
He was in like the fourth outfielder for them back then.
Yeah. At the
Yeah.
Welcome back.
Let us come back live. Yeah.
February 14th, 2003, after much speculation and the help of the Major League Baseball, the Chunichi Dragons return Kevin Millar to the Marlins for an undisclosed amount of money for relinquishing their rights to the outfielder. After reconsidering an offer from the Red Sox, who blocked the waiver deal to obtain him, the 31-year-old California native did not want to play for the Japanese Central League team. So it could be said in a Valentine's Day theme, Kevin Millar had a change of heart.
Oh.
Wow, that's wild. Kevin Millar looks like the guy in the neighborhood that knows how to fix a muffler. That dude drinks Miller Lights and blasts Kid Rock on a Saturday while he washes his Camaro.
Excuse me, you're almost correct. He drinks Millar Light. All right, all right.
There it is.
Hi-yo.
For the win, dude. For the win. Well done.
And that is this day in baseball history for Valentine's Day.
Oh my goodness.
All right. So I am super, super excited about this one. Cowboy Jack and Kevin have an awesome segment called Hazy History. Guys, do you want to explain a little bit what Hazy History is?
Absolutely. So what we do on Hazy History is we find an obscure event that happened in baseball. We've talked about Tommy Lasorda fighting mascots. We've talked about Ty Cobb fighting fans. What we'll do, and we'll just do a quick deep dive on it. We'll go about a half an hour deep dive, so not too crazy, but we're going to highlight these crazy, weird, hazy histories of baseball.
And we actually did this topic before a year or so ago. We were doing a shorter version on Instagram, and this is one that now we have a longer format. We dug deeper, and oh my goodness, we missed a lot of the story here.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Right. So where do you start?
Well, let's take a look at our man here. Jack, why don't you give us the title?
Tonight's episode of Hazy History is Lynn Konecki and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day.
All right, so we're going to be talking about Leonard George Konecki. I make sure we get this right here. Who was known as Len, was born January 18th, 1904. Yes, we're going back to the early 1900s, the peak of my life. So I got this one. Don't worry. He was born in Baraboo, Wisconsin. We're going to wait to hear some of these cities we're talking about.
It's a real place, dude.
And I was just like, all right, well, what's by there? It's 40 miles from the state's capital, Madison, if anybody even knows where Madison, Wisconsin is. Parabellum is maybe no Milwaukee. It's probably the only city he probably would know if he's watching here. His parents were Lydia and Herman. We mentioned Herman because Herman was a railroad engineer for the Chicago and Northwest Railway, which you'll see why I mentioned that later. So he just grew up a normal life. He graduated from high school in 1924 in Friendship, Wisconsin.
Wow.
So we love mentioning these names. So after high school, he then began his working life as a fireman. So, Michael, what do you got? Michael, is that what you think I meant? Is that what you really thought I meant?
Is it not a fireman?
Well, you know,
he's got a point, dude.
You're right. Thank you, Michael. But I mean a fireman on a locomotive. All right, hold on. Go back. I'm not. We'll go there. I'll go there in a minute. Because I want to. You know what? Let's just go on this side tangent here because let's ignore our firefighters over here. We know what those guys are, but that thing on the left. Let's talk about that a little bit. That is an award called the Rolaids Relief Man Award. All right. So because the first closers were nicknamed firemen, a reference to putting out the fire of another team's rally. As you can see here, the trophy was a gold-plated firefighter's helmet in a stroke of genius there. And Michael, I have a question for you. How do you spell relief?
Rolaids.
That's right. So this award got created, the Rolaids Relief Man Award. It was around from 1976 to 2012, and it went to the top relievers of each league. Now, here's the weird part, Jack. I've never seen an award like this. The winners are determined by the players' stats instead of the lousy writers voting for winners like other awards. You know?
Love it.
So if you get a save, you get 3 points. Each win is worth 2 points, and if you get a loss, you get -2 points. All right? Following along here? I love, too, that later as the game evolved, they made additions to the scoring criteria, like -2 points for a blown save, or you get an additional point for a tough save, which would be when a relief pitcher got the save after entering the game with the potential tying run on base. So the player at the highest total at the end of the year. All right, there you go. Good job, Parabellum. Home of the Madison
Mallards.
Mallards. Thank you. That's an independent team now, right? Correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right. So like I said, the player at the highest point total wins the award. Several Hall of Famers have won this award. Let me give you a few names here. Mario Rivera, the late, great Bruce Sutter, rest in power, Goose Gossage, and, hey, friend of the show, Wally Fingers. All right?
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, the corporate world then ruined things yet again, as this award was canceled in 2013 after a French pharmaceutical company called Sanofi, I'm not sure how it's pronounced. They bought Rolaids from a company called McNeil Consumer Healthcare, which is part of the Johnson & Johnson's umbrella. And Sanofi is one of the largest pharmaceutical companies in the world, primarily known for vaccines, but also makes prescription and over-the-counter medications. So, yeah, we can blame the French for ruining this for us baseball fans.
Okay. But we digress.
All right, of course, it's hazy.
Now, Kevin, since you were a young man during the time that locomotives were invented, can you please explain to us how a fireman is in the railroad? How does that work together?
You're really going there?
I am. Pull out the diary, kid.
Yeah. I was gonna do something else.
Oh,
I'm gonna follow something else now. Like, oh wait, let me. All right,
We got props. Dude.
Yeah, we don't need props. All right, can you go to the next photo, please, Michael? So this is a fireman in the form of being on a locomotive. So what Len's got hired to do is, as a strong young man out of high school, he got hired to work for his father's employer. That's why I mentioned the Chicago Northwestern Railway. He was a fireman, not a pitcher from the bullpen, who knew how to spell relief.
ROL, AIDS.
Thank you. He would do what's called tending the fire for powering the steam engine for a locomotive. And a lot of that job is hard physical labor, such as they're receiving here, shoveling fuel. And in this case, on the steam engine locomotive, it would be typically coal. Into that is the boiler's firebox. So the fire would already be started. He wouldn't start it because the process takes several hours for it to happen. They have a guy who's like a fire starter or something like that. I want to say that. It's like you can make your Prodigy or Drew Barrymore joke. Just talk amongst yourselves here. But the point is that if you see what he's doing, it's a lot of just, shovel, boom, shovel, boom. So through Len's work as a fireman, stoking the locomotive engines and other labors of his work made him jacked, especially his upper torso. Hey, and Cowboy Jack Durango. I know a good upper torso. You know what I mean?
That's true, dude. Best chest in the West.
That's right. He built himself up to be a 5'11", 180 pounds. And I'm sure it was just all here. You know what I mean? That's probably about 160 pounds is just right here. So now let's see. Let's tie that all back into baseball. And this is where it gets hazy, Michael Mondragon. Because there was a source we found that covers Adams County is the area, I believe, in Wisconsin, that said that Len was the standout baseball player growing up. Said he played ball at school and while still in high school played second base for the Adams Village team along with his brother Herb. He grew to love the game and made an effort to play baseball professionally as soon as he could. Excuse me, but you know what? I found something that completely contradicts that. That's what makes it fun here. All right? So a source that we use often here that we really love is called SABRE. It's a Society for American Baseball Research. They had an unidentified source that said he played little ball in high school. And so, the joy of hazy history. But going off of what we're going to talk about here, what SABRE says really more adds up to his playing ability on the field, as you'll see as we go here. All right. So his start in baseball, actually playing outside of, allegedly high school, happened through knowing a railway brakeman and former minor leaguer named Murray Boyle. That does not sound like a real name, Cowboy Jack. That sounds like an alias.
It's a gimmick name.
He just knows a guy.
Yeah, that's his working name.
Speaking of working, listen to this town. Boyle managed the town baseball club in Escanaba, Michigan.
Wow.
Come on.
It's a real place, dude. Escanaba.
Escanaba. And it was a stop on the Chicago Northwestern line. So there was a game where Boyle was short of players and knew that Len was jacked. So he asked him to substitute and gave him a catcher's mitt. And so, using his physique, he's got that. So he was a natural hitter and made progress immediately. He was inexperienced, so didn't have much else to offer baseball-wise at that point. But he was good enough to where he took a leave of absence from his railroad job, and then he spent the rest of the summer playing baseball for Escanaba and other local teams. Then when the season ended, he returned to working for the railroad. But the following season, he was at it again. So he resumed playing ball, joining town and semi-pro teams in both Michigan and Wisconsin. So then he finally became a pro the next year. We're talking 1927, Michael Mondragon.
Okay.
I was a mere Jack.
427 years old.
Give or take 200 years on that, and you'll be close. Anyway, so he actually did sign as a catcher with the Springfield Senators in Illinois, Jack.
Not the Isotopes.
Isotopes. Oh, good job. I'm glad you know that. Of a Class B league. I don't even want to try to go down the well to explain it. It's not how it is now where it's A, then your next level is AA, AAA, the major leagues. I think Class B it's AA and then B, C, and D.
Wow.
I think.
Wow.
So you're going to get confused like I am already just talking about this. So Len was, quote, showed plenty of power at the plate, but had a shaky arm and a woeful laugh experience. That's why I'm saying him playing high school does not add up to this. And then Springfield ended up releasing him. He ended up playing with, and this is a real team apparently, the Moline Plowboys.
Oh.
When Plowboy Jack Durango comes around, he can play for the Moline Plowboys.
Plowboy Jack Durango, dude.
Yeah. Exactly. So this is in this, and this is the next. This is 2 levels down. It says the Class D Mississippi Valley League. I just love just talking about these random leagues and teams. Oh, you're welcome, son. I can't believe I just thanked you for. I can't believe I just acknowledged you. His strength was still his batting 343 with a league leading 20 home runs. And back then, a lot of home runs weren't being hit unless you're a Babe Ruth, pretty much. So again, in the offseason, he's stoking those locomotive engines. Went back to Moline and led the league again in batting average. So we're talking 1928 now. He led the league in batting average, hits, and home runs, and he got promoted to the Indianapolis Indians. Michael, I think you have a photo of him in that jersey for me.
I do.
All right. So we're going to, because this is going to be a recurring theme here if we're talking about the Indianapolis Indians. So this is the AA American Association, which that used to be a AAA league. And now I believe it's an independent league somewhere in like the Midwest. It's hard to keep track of this. So after he was done, Moline, he got bumped up to Indianapolis. So he's actually one step away from the major leagues all of a sudden. So he did well. And in 17 late season games, he batted .394, showing that he's got that major league material, Jack.
Yes.
And then the next year, so we're talking 1929 now. I want to make sure we're given the order of things here. So something happened here that would become a pattern for Len, because he's spending the off season, just working in that little space, doing all that shoveling and stuff. He got up a little slowly. And, he's jacked to the gills, but he's unable to get limber in the early going. If you're just moving your arms, not moving your legs,
right.
You're going to be like me where you just, you got no legs.
barrel chested, dude.
That's
barrel
right.
chested, just
Exactly.
like Kevin Lyon.
Exactly. So he didn't start off very well at all. So because of that, Indianapolis sent him off to a 3I league club called the Quincy Indians. And no, Michael, this city in Illinois is not named for Jack Klugman. Damn. All right.
Now, so it's the 3I League, and they sometimes refer to it as the 3I League. It's the Illinois, Indiana, and Iowa League, played from 1901 to 1961, with some interruptions due to world events.
World events, huh?
Wow.
So what? 2 world wars. I don't know, the Spanish flu. Am I forgetting anything, Cowboy Jack? Nothing else happened in those 60 years. It's a blip on my radar. Yeah, this is. So, like I said, it took him a while to get back on track. And Jack, I don't mean a railroad track.
Tip your waitress, dude.
Yeah, exactly. Try the veal. But after 110 games, his batting average, he was back and jacked and hitting it hard, batting .325, 44 extra base hits. So he got sent back up to Indianapolis. Now you go back to the Indianapolis side again, because this is going to be a recurring theme too. And there he played 32 games, about .316. So doing solid. But again, he needed to make some money that offseason, so he went back to working at the railroad job. And then now we're going to move on to 1930, which is a big year, Cowboy Jack, in this man's life, because he got married in 1930. And Jack, they may have had a daughter then.
They either had the daughter in 1930 or in 1932. Yeah. So
that's how hazy this is.
Right.
That's why
there's 12 different accounts, but it's either when she's born or 2 years before she's born.
It's so weird.
Big year,
so
dude.
Weird.
She's there. She's there in some form.
Yeah, her name's Anna. I don't know if she's still alive. If she is, if not, rest in power, Anna. But she's either born in 1930 or 1932. We don't know for sure. As funny as that is. But for 1930, for some reason, maybe if everything else going on, Len's wife was maybe having a daughter and maybe not. He doesn't know. We don't know what's going on. He'd end up not doing as well, and he ended up getting sent back to Springfield again, Jack.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. But
back to the isotopes.
Yep. Okay. Fine. I'll just say it is. And then he did well there. 349 in 56 games. And then guess where he went up to again? Indianapolis. You see the pattern here. And again, he didn't do very well in that run. 67 games, about 250. So the man's at a crossroads in his life, little about to find out. So his father, was working that railroad company for years. So Len was able to get away with taking all these leaves to play baseball, be gone for months at a time. So, however, after 1930, Len was told, brother, you either pick ball or you pick the railroad. What's it going to be? And guess what he chose, Michael Mondragon?
The circus. I mean,
baseball. You're right. Baseball. You're right.
Yes.
You're right.
The
Absolutely.
circus.
Same. All right. So let's now talk about 1931. He had just baseball in his mind, and he just killed it that year with Indianapolis. To the point where New York Giants manager Little Napoleon John McGraw was aware of what Leo was doing and was interested in bringing him up. Let's take a look at Mr. John McGraw here. You have a photo of him ready for you? Oh, wow. Oh, geez. Look at him. Oh, gosh. I think he's judging all of us for talking.
Yes.
So let me explain why the interest here. So McGraw was manager of the New York Giants, and they hadn't been in the playoffs in years, so he was looking to shake things up, brother. But the Giants scouts were saying back mixed reports. We had a scout who said, quote, the big fast Kennedy has the pick of the outfielders in the minor league this year, while another one branded him a terrible outfielder who would probably be unable to replicate his gaudy minor league batting stats against major league pitching. So, intrigued, but unsure, Jack. McGraw decided to inspect the prospect himself, temporarily leaving the Giants and taking the train, ironically enough, to Indianapolis in early August. There's more irony in me saying that train joke later. So think about that. Can you imagine a manager leaving his team to go scout a minor leaguer? That tells you. And I would think New York to Indianapolis is not a quick train ride either. That's got to be a day or so, at least. So McGraw went to watch a few games in Indianapolis, and he decided, yep, I need this kid. This kid is already 1904. He's already 25, 26 years old, so nowadays, you'd be already veteran by that point, potentially. All right, so he offered the Indians club owner, N.A. Perry, are you ready for this? $75,000 for Kennedy's contracts rights in 1931 money. Yeah, that's perfect right there. Like that.
Agreed.
Very good. Now, did you hear that? 1931 money, $75,000. So, Jack, what is that in today's money?
Approximately $1,444,021.38 today.
Nice. That's crazy. Now, let me tell you why that's even crazier. So, Perry was willing to part with Kennedy, but weirdly considering the United States was, I don't know, in a depression.
Yes.
He actually wanted players rather than cash in exchange for him, which just puzzles me to no end because, we're 4 years we're several years in the middle of the depression here. And so in the end, they decided to do players. I didn't even say how many players. It literally said some players and $10,000 in cash to get Len. So it's different. It's not a direct affiliation like it is now at the major leagues. They actually have to get these guys and buy them from the minor league team. So there we go. Boom. Got him. So Kennedy was going to go to the report to the Giants West Coast camp in the spring of 1932. So it's not spring training. You go to the West Coast and just get yourself ready. So McGraw predicted that Kennedy, quote, will be a bright star in the National League, quote unquote. McGraw's confidence in him spurred apparently uncharacteristic bravado from apparently the normally modest Midwesterner. Quote, I ought to make good, Kennedy declared upon reaching Los Angeles in February. I hit 353 in the American Association and had plenty of triples. None of these cheap home runs for me, quote unquote. So early on, he then backed those words up. So let me see here. He heavy hitting in early exhibition games. It got to the point that the Giants actually traded their outfield starter, a guy by the name of Fred Leach, to Boston. I don't know if that'd be the Boston Bean Eaters, the Boston Braves, the Boston Red Sox. But, so it opened up the left field post for Kennedy. And unfortunately, he didn't hit as well as he did in the minor leagues. And his weakness of fielding. Oh, hold on. You're jumping ahead of yourself here. You can keep it on Mr. McGraw for me. We'll get to that guy in a second. Shh, don't say who that is, Cowboy Jack. it got to the point where in early June, to make things worse for him, is that John McGraw suddenly had to resign as manager of the Giants because look at him, he's a very, very young and healthy man there. But he actually was really ailing health-wise, and he ended up suddenly just quitting the team. And their first baseman, a guy named Bill Terry, who I believe is a Hall of Famer as well, became the manager, still player manager, and he was not a fan of Len's play. And immediately Len was playing less with the Giants. And also, apparently, the Giants were known for being a brotherhood, Cowboy Jack Durango, how about I say it like that, type group. And he apparently was considered a quiet outsider, which led to some heat in the clubhouse. So after one game in June 9th, Len went 0 for 4 in a game against St. Louis. After that, Bill sent him out, kicked him off the team, and sent him to the Jersey City Skeeters of the AA International League. Jack, what is a skeeter?
It's a mosquito, babe. It's a mosquito.
It's a mosquito. It's literally a mosquito.
Yes.
Okay, fair enough. All right, so Len did. Hey, but you know what? Len came back. There seems to be a pattern. He'll get demoted, do one to come back. He actually made it back to the Giants for the end of the end of the season 32, but didn't do well enough again. And literally, the Giants sold him to the Buffalo Bisons in the International League. There you go. So $10,000 in players traded, gone down the drain for the Giants' budget, just like that. That's a loss right there.
Jeez.
Yeah. But then guess what happened? He had another great minor league season. Woo, of course he did. So in 1933, he made the International League All-Star team. That's how well he did. He also was making some strides defensively. And the one thing we talked about, because he was working half the time and doing all this, he had a late start to baseball, but he had the tools. He had athleticism, he had foot speed, and an adequate throwing arm for competent outfield play. And he finally was able to show up truly with the Bisons. And the Dodgers were paying attention. Just watched him. And they decided they're going to buy his contract. And he was supposed to report after the Buffalo season ended. But here's the kicker, Cowboy Jack. Buffalo made what was apparently called the Junior World Series back then.
The Junior World Series.
The Junior World Series. And I'm guessing this would have just been the whatever I call it, the double A, which, it's just so confusing trying to figure out these leagues. The top minor league level. And they lost to Columbus, which I would hope is the Columbus Clippers. Let's just say it's Columbus Clippers. That's a famous AAA team, right? In eight late September games. So it's a best of 9, too, to make it even crazier. And by that point, when he was done, the Dodgers season was already over. So he didn't get a chance to play in the major leagues in 33. All right, so now let's jump to 1934. Brooklyn was like, we're going to give you a shot, brother. And there was a guy, you can go to the next photo here. We're talking about a young guy here. That is Casey Stengel. That's about as young as you'll ever see him look. He always looked at least 40. So he was the manager. And this was actually Casey's rookie year as a manager. Believe it or not, he was actually a rookie once. So Casey actually took personal interest in Len and worked with him on his fielding. And apparently, it was considered very rare later on for Casey to be known to invest much time in a single player. But hey, you know what? This is a young for lack of a better term, young in the field of managing. How about I say it like that? He was young and trying to make an impression and you want to make that good first impression. And it definitely worked out as Len just thrived. He actually set a National League record for fielding as an outfielder. And he only made 2 errors in the entire season, which that's pretty stellar. And at the plate, 320 batting average, 14 home runs, 73 RBIs. Dodgers, though, not good, 71 and 81. But the New York Times was very excited about him. They said that Len was the new Flatbush hero, Cowboy Jack Durango.
What a name.
Do we know who was the first Flatbush hero?
We don't. It's you are. That's right. It was you.
Don't let the hazy truth get in the way of a good story, right? All right, or the hazy fiction, But what we're saying is all apparently true in some ways, I'm sure. So it's interesting too, because we're going to talk about later is the press was saying that Kennedy was low key, generating little sports writer ink. He was professional during games, quiet in the clubhouse, and a colorless family man away from the diamond. And that's interesting because of what we're going to talk about shortly here. All right, Michael, why don't you I have a little cartoon here this is a really cool little thing here. Do you have that cartoon of him for his success? Do you have that one handy? There you go. So look at that. Look at this. Was railroaded off the Northwestern line, comes out of Eclipse to shine resplendently. They say, you can't become a star overnight. It only took him to he was like 34 years old, I love little like cartoons like this. So he had all that success. So what do you do? What happens if you go back to I think was he in Friendship, Wisconsin, Cowboy Jack? Was that where he was living?
Yes, sir.
What happens if a guy who made success on a grand scale comes back to Friendship? He is a local hero, Michael Mondragon. So he ended up making the rounds on the local banquet circuit. He was getting the steak and potato testimonial dinners, drinks on the house from coast to coast.
Sponsor dinners, dude. Sponsor dinners.
He was living the life, let me tell you. And the Dodgers, meanwhile, were really excited about this guy. And they had their publicity book for 1935 said, quote, I should read it more sexily than this. Look at this. Those magnificent shoulder muscles that are part of Len Kennedy's physical development were not acquired on the ball field. Rather, he fashioned them during months of backbreaking work as a fireman on the Chicago and Northwestern Railroad. All right.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. The Dodgers were hyping him up, brother. But something happened, Cowboy Jack. What happens if you're on the road, partying it up? You can be ready for some baseball.
You're probably not hitting the Stairmaster. You're probably packing on a few LBs, dude. I mean,
yeah, you show up overweight. And one thing I love there, it said he had a recurrence of the foot miseries that had plagued him previously that set back his conditioning. Meanwhile, we couldn't find any record of him ever having foot injuries previously. We just figure we mentioned he wasn't very limber, in a tight space all those years working on the train. Maybe he messed up his legs. Who knows? All right. So, and also apparently he was also dealing with a shoulder injury, which affected his fielding, which apparently we couldn't find out what caused that or what out with that. So they did all that shuffling, So, you know what? This guy's already, how old did I say he was? He's born in 1904. So he's like 30 years old. 30 years old. You know what that could be considered in my world? Damaged goods. All right. You're damaged goods. Your has been. But he was young and MLB experience, but he was an old timer when it comes to playing baseball at that age. Say it like that. So he didn't do very well. Casey Stengel is very disappointed in him. And here's where the fun part is. Also off the field, I found a source that found him to be known for being a heavy drinker and belligerent. He also routinely violated curfew, which caused heat with the coaching staff. And it's interesting, too, because when it was time to #do the research, that the Saber article I read said that he wasn't known as a drinker. So
there's conflicting reports all throughout this guy's life.
Yeah, but you know what? This is a thing, though. Honestly, they were really kayfabing the players' habits to the press back in those days. Or it could be the press and team were also kayfabing his drinking, as that would be standard fare in 1935. Like all the stuff Babe Ruth was up to was, for players like that, a lot of frolicking on the road, a lot of drinking, having a good time. That would be hidden to the general public for sure. And another fun thing I was thinking about this, because I was around in the 1930s, was if you're talking about his drinking, apparently he was just excess drinking for all this time, is that prohibition was just repealed in the end of 1933, ironically enough. So who knows if it's legal now and he started hitting it harder, or if he was, like me, going to speakeasies all those years, But regardless, unfortunately, he wasn't doing well. His batting average is down. His power numbers were down. His fielding regressed. He made 8 errors in 86 games. As I told you, he made 2 the entire 1934 season. So the Dodgers had no chance of making the playoffs, and Stengel was like, I got to do something. So there was September 15th, 1935. Casey sent Kennedy to the plate as a 9th-inning pinch hitter against Chicago Cubs right-hander Bill Lee, not Bill Spaceman Lee, Michael Mondragon. Bill Lee's not even that old. He grounded out. After the 6-3 loss, the Dodgers headed for St. Louis to begin a series against the Cardinals. This would be the end of Len Kennedy's baseball career. So, Jack, now I just got to lob you this softball. Oh, he's opening one up.
September 16th, 1935, manager Casey Stengel decided to bring in some younger talent in an attempt to dig the bums from Brooklyn out of their 27th place hole that his unmatched managerial prowess had dug. Lynn Kinnicky had just arrived in St. Louis for the 5-game series, and he was informed by Stengel that he, along with pitchers Les Munns and Bob Barr, would be paid out the remainder of the season and sent home early. This was the beginning of Lynn Kinnicky's terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. Kinnicky called his wife Gladys at their apartment in Brooklyn and let her know that he was on the way home, and he even took time to write a postcard to his daughter. Is she 5 years old? Is she 2 years old? We don't know. But the postcard said, "Hurrah, I'll be with you tomorrow." He took a cab with Munns and Barr to the St. Louis airport to catch an American Airlines flight that would take them back home to New York. On the way to the airport, the three ball players, uncertain of their future in baseball, made a fateful decision to pick up a bottle or two or three or four of whiskey to drown their sorrows on the journey home. The three pink-slipped ball players were to fly on a 14-seat Boeing Model 247, which we have an example right here. This was luxury air travel in 1935. It is a non-pressurized cabin, so it's freezing cold in there. You had to bundle up. It can't fly at cruising speed, so it's a turbulent ride, and any movement in that cabin is going to send that plane just moving around. This is air travel in 1935.
I would know.
So they are going to fly from St. Louis to Chicago to refuel, from Chicago to Detroit to refuel, then finally from Detroit to New York City. Now, why the Dodgers organization made the decision to fly the players, which at the time when a plane ticket could cost half the amount of just buying a new car, a whole ass new car, and not send them via train, which remains a mystery to anybody that's ever looked into the incident. There's nobody, you can't find out who made that decision. Little fiscally irresponsible. So the boys partied on the way to Chicago, made it to Chicago, no problem, no problem. The plane got refueled. And that's when the brown liquor took control. Sauced up and feeling rowdy, Kinnicky started a fight with a fellow passenger. This isn't like modern day air travel, as I mentioned. So he's moving around in this cabin and the plane is just going nuts. Stewardess comes in to intervene, get him to calm down, and he knocks the good sister to the ground. So all the passengers gang up on this guy, pull him into a chair and tie him to the chair. The co-pilot has to come out of the cabin and physically sit on him for the remainder of the flight to get him to calm down.
Now, wait a minute, Jack. Len Kinnicky, as I said earlier, is 5'11", 200 pounds. You're telling me he's not going to be able to bust out of that and a guy's going to sit on him?
Dude, that's why they also tied him to the seat. They lashed him to the seat and the guy had to sit on him. He's going incredible Hulk mode.
But who's this guy? Well, he's get like a guy like, you know, well, a mini. I mean, come on.
No. I forgot to mention the co-pilot was also a former university football player.
Oh,
so
okay.
he's a big beefy bro, man.
He has to break out of the rope. He's got to break out of the rope like Houdini, and then he has to be able to get this guy off his lap. All right. Exactly.
So he passes out. They get to Detroit, Michigan, and he's out like a light. So Munns and Barr drag him into the airport, throw him up on a bench, and they just leave him there. They leave his drunken carcass right there, and they catch their next flight home, which is not a very brotherly move, guys. We all know the rule of the road. When you got a gimmicked up brother, we all go home or nobody goes home.
Wait a minute. You're telling me this guy did this, and they just go over there.
Dude, there's no TSA. There's no TSA. The air travel was mighty different back then. You could just disappear on flights.
Yeah, because you know what? I mean, geez, you're telling me so DB Cooper could just rob the plane and just jump out and you would be able to get away with that? Come on.
Right. You would know, DB. I mean, Kevin.
Yeah.
I would
Right.
put him in the cage in the back here.
All right. So guys, so far this is a wild story, but this is the part of the story where as we like it, it gets hazy, it gets real, and it gets real hazy. One of the American Airlines employees found Kennecke passed out, reaches in his pocket, finds his paper ticket, and tears it up, ensuring that he couldn't board another flight. So this dude wakes up. He's on the bad side of a whiskey drunk mountain. He's marooned in Detroit. And let me tell you, I've been stranded in a Mexican border town, Guam, and even a South Korean prison cell. And I would choose being stuck in any one of those three than Detroit freaking Michigan in 1935. So Lynn's sitting on a bench. He's drunk. He's dejected. He just got fired. He's probably panicking about not only how is he going to get home to his wife and daughter, but what's he going to do for work? He just got pink slipped, brother. So a dude walks in from the tarmac, and I can only imagine it's like that when you open the briefcase in Pulp Fiction, that glowing light, right? Dude's wearing like a pilot's outfit. He's got the leather bomber jacket on. So Lynn assumes correctly that the man was a pilot. The guy's name is William Mulqueeny, and he owned a Stinson Detroiter, which is a single-engine monoplane about the size of a modern-day SUV. It's a 6-seater, including the pilot and co-pilot. So he asked him about chartering his plane to take him back to New York. Mulqueeny's price to fly to New York City was $175, which is $3,802 in today's money. The average American salary in 1935 was $471 a year. And ball players weren't pulling down that Aaron Judge money at this time. So Lynn and Mulqueeny negotiated it down to $60, which is $1,300 in today's money, to fly as far as Buffalo, New York. Mind you that you can now book a direct flight from Detroit to Buffalo for $278 right now.
Hey, Jack,
Michael,
can I say something? So you know what I can say right now? Hurrah! I'll be home tomorrow.
Hurrah, I'll be home tomorrow. So Michael Mondragon, Kevin Lyon, this is when the real plane ride from hell began.
Hey, can I please do it properly? The plane ride from hell.
So in a stroke of brilliance, Mulqueeny asks his friend Erwin Davis to tag along. Davis was known as the Human Bat for his daredevil act of jumping out of planes with a bat-wing-shaped parachute. Wow. Real popular in the Midwest.
Is that DB Cooper? That might be DB Cooper.
Dude. So these dudes are brothers. He says, hey, I gotta fly this guy. Why don't you come with me for company? Or maybe if I get tired. So Davis sits in the back of the plane, and Kennecke sits in the co-pilot seat. Mulqueeny, pilot seat, of course. Fly off into the night. Neither one of these guys know what's in store. So Kennecke was quiet and almost despondent for the first few minutes of the flight. No doubt contemplating his future, but then it's like a switch flipped. He began shoulder checking Mulqueeny and urging the pilot to do some barrel rolls. Mulqueeny and Davis tried to calm down this hulking monster with promises of more whiskey when they landed in Buffalo, but nothing. They couldn't talk him down off the ledge. He would just get more and more and more agitated. So he's out of his mind, and now he's completely unmanageable. So he starts grabbing for the controls of the plane. This is life and death situation now. Like, this is real. Just to recap, drunk Incredible Hulk trying to crash the plane that you're flying. Okay. Not good.
So the human, what are you gonna do? Did the human bat try to help?
So the human bat finally just grabs him and pulls him to the back, and they start fighting, rolling around, fighting, and he's biting him. He's biting the human bat on the arm. They're hitting.
Wait! Isn't it supposed to be the human bat doing the biting? Come on.
Right, dude. Right. So Mulqueeny's like, man, I got to end this. And he looks around, and
Well, they're hitting him too, right?
Right. They're punching. They're fighting. There's just no phasing this guy.
What I know during the scuffle is that they're literally bashing into him because this is such a small space. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It'd be like Michael driving a car and you and me fighting in the back seat.
Correct. Yeah. No. It's all over the place. So Mulqueeny thinks it's going down, dude. This is life or death. So he looks around and he grabs the first object that he can find, which was a fire extinguisher, and he swings behind him to try to hit Kinnicky. He actually ends up hitting the human bat first. So he's desperate at this point. He leaves the controls and he started hitting Lynn Kinnicky in the head, reminiscent almost of Mighty Casey at the bat. He hit his head no less than 10 times until the man stopped moving. So then he runs back up, gets control of the plane, and he brings it down for a landing at the first opportunity he has, which happened to be the Long Branch racetrack in a suburb of Toronto, Canada. So a plane almost crashing and having to perform an emergency landing on a racetrack was not a common sight in that time in rural Canada, and it drew the attention of the local police. When they arrived at the plane, they opened the door and they found the two shell-shocked pilots and a very motionless, very dead Lynn Kinnicky lying in a pool of his own blood. Lynn would never make it home to see his wife and daughter. It doesn't end there, boys. Willie Mac Mulqueeny and the human bat Erwin Davis were immediately charged with manslaughter and taken into custody by the Toronto police. The men stayed in a Canadian jail eating poutine and Saskatoon berries while the police investigated the scene. Just to give you an idea of what happened to Mr. Kinnicky's head, the Toronto investigator showed the fire extinguisher to William Mulqueeny, and he reacted by saying, "Surely it wasn't pounded into that awful shape by me hitting him in the head. I simply didn't know what I was doing. It's too horrible to think of. I want to forget it all." The case was then brought before a local jury for a preliminary hearing 3 days after the incident, and it took the jury 12 minutes of deliberation to dismiss the charges against Willie Mac Mulqueeny and the human bat Erwin Davis, allowing them to cross the border and get back home.
And he makes it sound so simple, but it's not that simple because you have an American plane landing in Canada with 3 American citizens, and people are like, what do we do here? You know, just trying to figure this out. And I did hear the pilot more or less say along the lines like, I wish I could take those blows back. But at the same time, he said, well, it's either 1 or 3 of us. Right. You know what I mean? What's going to survive?
Absolutely.
Make it, go down in this situation. I guess I can talk a little bit about the aftermath. So
yeah, tell me about Casey Stengel.
So, Casey Stengel, was responsible for sending him off and doing all this. So it was a quote from Casey Stengel, which you'll see what I mean in a minute here. Casey told the press, quote, "I deeply regret Kinnicky's death and can't explain his actions. For when he left yesterday, he seemed all right and in good spirits." That was reported in the New York Herald Tribune and Washington Evening Star, September 18th, 1935, and elsewhere. Here's where it gets hazy. Decades later, a Dodgers historian maintained that Stengel had been too distraught to handle press inquiries. Lest Stengel be perceived as indifferent to the tragedy, club officials persuaded Roscoe McGowan, again, probably not a real name, of the New York Times to call the Associated Press, impersonate Stengel's gravelly voice, and issue appropriate expressions of grief.
Wow.
The remarks went out over the wires and no one was the wiser. How about that?
Wow.
But meanwhile, though, who do you think else is going to be angry about this? The Dodger players. So the Dodgers, they wore an armband in honor of Len the next day. But man, could you imagine the heat on Casey from the players?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, let this guy go, and now he's dead, and he has a wife and a kid, et cetera, et cetera. And that definitely probably affected his time with the Dodgers. Like I said, they had a losing record that year. I think this year, just like the season before. And then after the next season, again, they didn't do well at all. And then they let him go, and then Casey Stengel's never heard from him again, right?
He hung around just like all the bad ones do.
He hung around. Oh, come on now. He hung around for like about another 30 years as the manager, Hall of Famer, all-time great manager. But what an interesting beginning to his career.
Yeah.
So there's your Len Kennedy story. But there's something we do here at Hazy History to conclude. We have what is called the Deplorable Baseball Bum of the Month, and that is the term of Mr. Cowboy Jack Durango. So tell us, Jack, who is it?
Boys and girls, proud members of the Bruniverse, time for the Deplorable Baseball Bum of the Month, which is none other than, drum roll please, whiskey. We don't know what type or what brand. This story serves as a testament that we should all be drinking craft beer instead of that brown liquor.
And can I just say to finish up, hurrah.
Cheers indeed. Oh my gosh. Wow. That was a deep, deep dive into some craziness. And that was his rookie year as a manager. That all happened.
And 34 was his rookie year.
Wow.
And then had his career year, and then the next year he had to deal with that tragedy.
I've never heard of that even in his career at all. That's amazing. What an amazing dive, guys. What a great job you guys did with that. That is fantastic. Yes. And what a sordid tale indeed. Absolutely outstanding. Guys, you must be winded now. You're absolutely right. What is it? Liquor is quicker. Whiskey is whiskey for.
And here's another funny thing, though. Mr. Stengel was a mere 44 years old in 1934, or 45 when this thing happened. Think about that. So, like I said, never young. He became a manager at the age of 43.
Yeah, for real.
the old professor, for a good reason.
Yeah, old professor. Oh boy. Yeah, he might have had some other names before that, but professor is what they landed on. Wow, that's crazy.
Yes. And Michael, let me just give a little fun fact there too about this. This incident was actually, they did a spot in the show Archer. Are you aware of the show Archer?
Sure.
So there's an episode of Archer, I think it's called Smuggler's Blues, where they're flying. There's a 3-seater. And Archer tries to grab control of the plane, and the guy behind him grabs the fire extinguisher and knocks him out with it. And hits it with it. And the next scene is they're sitting in his car, and he goes, but Archer says to the guys, "Oh, just so you know, that's exactly how Len Kennedy died."
Wow, they actually said that. That's hilarious.
Len Kennedy's name, which I couldn't believe that.
No one would get that.
Yeah, I know.
I'm into baseball, and I don't even know that. That's incredible. So my God, I love all that deep dive. Well, guys, that is it for the podcast tonight. I want you to watch on this Saturday at 6 a.m. Pacific for part 2 of Angelo's Rip and Review from Front Row Card Show in Las Vegas. And here's what we are on the socials: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch, and TikTok. Guys, any last words before we sign off for this week?
Like, subscribe, and follow for more Hazy History, more This Day in Baseball, the Diamond Exchange, the crown jewel of craft beer and baseball. It's the Baseball Brew Crew. We appreciate you people watching, tuning in, spread the word, help us out. We'll see you next week.
Awesome.
Not following that.
We'll see you next Tuesday with another Baseball Brew Crew podcast. Thanks for joining, everyone. Good night.